Since 2009, over 125,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria. President Trump has warned the Nigerian government to end it or face consequences. How should we think about America's role in Christian persecution? Here's the point. Just last week, President Trump issued an ultimatum to the Nigerian government. End the persecution of Christians or face consequences. Christians are the world's most persecuted religious group. 1 in 7 believers globally lives under high levels of persecution. And nowhere has the bloodshed been more severe in recent days than in Nigeria, where radical Islamists wage a relentless campaign against the church. Just last week, President Trump declared that Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria and redesignated Nigeria as a country of particular concern under the International Religious Freedom Act. The message is clear. There will be consequences for governments that allow the slaughter of Christians. This matters for 3 critical reasons. First, can American power be used for righteous and just ends? Yes, and there is a precedent for this. After all, the Romans 13 government does not wield the sword in vain. It bears the sword as God's servant to execute wrath on those who practice evil. The most obvious example was America's entrance into World War II right after Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. The United States and allied powers liberated Europe from Hitler and Mussolini's death grip, ending the Nazi Third Reich, restoring Western European nation-states to their rightful governments, and ending the Nazi genocide and extermination of the Jews. That wasn't merely political and military power. It was power exercised righteously. That's not the only time the United States practiced military intervention. The first international war with the Barbary pirates of Tripoli, then U.S. President Thomas Jefferson required the end of the Muslims' abduction of U.S. sailors and merchants, but it also required the Barbary pirates to respect the religious differences between Muslims and Christians. In 1844, the first U.S.-China treaty imposed religious standards on China to allow American foreign missionaries into the country to set up independent churches. The U.S. government, founded as a Christian republic, has a long-standing historical precedent for flexing its military and economic power to impose the Christian West standards of religious liberty and the dignity of everyone created in the image of God. It is only fitting that the 47th President of the United States continues this long-standing tradition and practice, not as an ACLU-approved politician or one that the Freedom from Religion Foundation would approve of, but the kind of American president that does what all U.S. presidents have done before: promote Christianity internationally. Second, what should be required of any government that receives U.S. aid? Would it not be to ensure that the government appropriately adheres to the standards of international human rights? We can argue that Nigeria shouldn't be getting any aid from the U.S. at another time. But if it does receive over $1 billion in aid from American taxpayers, the U.S. president has every right to tell that government how it should conduct itself. President Trump said that the government of Nigeria should take action or face consequences. He also instructed the Department of War to be prepared for possible action, saying, "We will attack if Nigeria doesn't end the slaughter of Christians, and it will be fast, vicious, and sweet." This is the classic carrot and stick. If a foreign government is going to take the American taxpayers' carrot of $1 billion, it should be prepared to receive the American military stick. And no, that is not a neocon idea. That's just classic common sense. Third, President Trump's position must also be seen in light of 2,000 years of Western history. Constantine, one of the last great emperors of the Roman Empire, issued the Edict of Milan in 313 AD, ending state-sponsored persecution and the slaughter of Christians. Modern evangelical pietists, living under the blanket protection of a free and well-ordered society, may pontificate today that this action by Constantine only corrupted the church. But that idea is unfounded. Persecution is not a good unto itself, but an evil. Cancer is not a good unto itself, but an evil. God can work evil for the good, but evil is not good. All Christians must work to end persecution, just as we would work to end slavery or to excise the tumor from the body. The purpose of political power is to wield such power righteously, and the role of an American president, for as long as the American government stewards such power, is to lead boldly and with action, especially when it comes to religious persecution and human rights. Christians should pray to end suffering. Christians should also applaud and praise President Trump for taking such clear and direct action. And that was not the case with President Biden.